All right, y'all. So I think it's in Matthew chapter 5. Don't quote me exactly. I know it's in Matthew, but I don't know the exact chapter. But it just was playing in my head today, this morning, and I want to share that with you guys. It's a verse that says, "Make peace or agree with thy adversary quickly. Agree with thy adversary quickly." Now there's an esoteric meaning to this, right? There's more to it, right? You can go research the passage yourself. I think it's Matthew chapter 5. It says, "Agree with your adversary quickly while on the way to court, lest he bring you before the judge and they put you in prison." And this is a summary. You know, it's not verbatim. It's agree. I'm just trying to make sure I get it right. Agree with thy adversary quickly while on the way to court. I'm paraphrasing. While on the way to court, lest he bring you before the judge and you end up in prison. Now, you can take that literally, but there's an esoteric meaning. And the word adversary esoterically means your own vain imaginations that conflict with truth. I'm going to say it again. Adversary esoterically means your own vain imaginations that conflict with truth. So any thought you have that is contradictory to truth is your adversary. I'm going to repeat that again because it's so very important. It's esoteric. Any thought you have that conflicts with the truth about what God say about you, what God say about your life, any thought you have that conflicts with what truth is, and truth is what God says about who you are and your purpose in your life. So anything that conflicts with that is your adversary. Agree with your adversary quickly while on the way to court, lest he bring you before the judge and you're cast into prison. And again, I'm paraphrasing this, but I believe it's Matthew chapter 5. You guys go read it yourself and get the verbatim. So again, adversary, any thought that conflicts with truth. We can translate that to make peace. Agree with your adversary can also be rendered make peace with your adversary. Be in harmony with your adversary. Reconcile with your adversary. Be on good terms, friendly with your adversary. And your adversary again is not necessarily esoterically, it's not an external instruction, it's an internal instruction. This is the esoteric meaning. Internal in the sense that, do you suffer from guilt complex? Do you have a guilt complex? Agree with your adversary quickly. What does that look like? You feel guilty about something. Here's how you agree with that guilt complex to free yourself of that guilt. So let's say let's give guilt a personification in your mind. So guilt is a person inhabiting the land of your mind. And if you don't make peace, if you don't agree with guilt is going to bring you before the judge, which is now the judge in this esoteric scenario is your own condemnation, self-condemnation. So now you judge. So now guilt, which is your adversary, brings you before your judge, which is your own, because we're our own worst critics. We all know that. So now your own judge, harsh critic of yourself, throws you in prison. So guilt, the person, brings you before the judge, which is your self-criticism. So you judge yourself wrongly, and then you put yourself in prison, and the prison is in that state of guilt in your mind. Now you're registering and residing in guilt. You have a guilt complex. And we know when you have guilt complex, that translates into your life being chaotic. So agree with your adversary, agree with your guilt quickly before he brings you before the judge of your own self, and you put yourself in your own psychological prison. That's how that's esoterically interpreted. What does the agreement look like? Because a lot of people would say, how do I agree? Well, that makes no sense. Why would I agree that I'm guilty of something? Isn't that self-contradictory? Doesn't that works against me? No, it doesn't. Because agreeing, let's say, for instance, example is guilt. You feel a guilt complex. Agree with the guilt, right? Say you did something that you're not proud of. You feel ashamed of. Whatever it is. I can't think of anything right now. Use your imagination. So you have a guilt complex. Agree with your guilt. Say, you know what? Yes, I am guilty of this, and this was bad. This was not good. But what I did was not right. This does not feel good. I feel guilty, and all things work together for my good in Jesus' name. You use the word. You use the word. So you agree with the guilt by acknowledging the guilt complex, the act, whatever the act is that brought on the guilt. You acknowledge the act and agree with the act. Yes, I did this and I feel ashamed of it. However, not even however, don't even use an however, because we don't want to seem as if we're in total agreement. However is the opposite. We want to stay in agreement. So you say it like this: I agree with you, guilt complex, in my own mind, and I do feel that this was shameful, and all things are working together for my good in Jesus' name. You just liberated you. You just agreed with your adversary. That's how it looks. That's what it looks like. You just agreed with your adversary quickly, avoided the judge of self-judgment and self-persecution and condemnation, because we all do it to ourselves. We're our own. So agree. Look, Jesus says, a man's enemies shall be those of his own household. Your house, I said this in previous videos, your house, whenever you see the word house, it represents your body, your temple, your synagogue of God, and God lives in you. And your enemies also lives in you too. All of your enemies lives inside of you. A man's enemy is those of his own household. You have accumulated subconscious enemies that inhabit the land of your mind. And that's why you need to be like the 12 spies, and you need to send your 12 powers of the mind, 12 faculties of the mind, into the promised land of Canaan, which is your subconscious mind. Canaan means low land. Low land is your subconscious mind. Land means your mind. Cultivate the land. Steal, take the land. Possess the land. Possess your mind. Kill all the inhabitants of the land. Kill all the inhabitants, the negative inhabitants that inhabit your mind. Doubt must be eliminated, right? Eliminate all the inhabitants of your mind. Doubt must be eliminated. Guilt must be eliminated. And the way you eliminate these negative inhabitants is agree with the enemies, agree with your adversary quickly. And the way you agree is you acknowledge the doubt, you acknowledge the worry, you acknowledge the fear. All of the negative inhabitants, acknowledge them and know and quote the word. And after acknowledging them, you always use and. Okay, and is a harmonious preposition. And, okay, all things work together for my good in Jesus' name. Right there, you just agreed with your enemies, you just agreed with your adversary, and you freed yourself from their consequences. Peace.